Les, did you take the cream downstairs? The one that was here? Yeah. I put the fresh one out there. Right, because I'm putting it, because I know I, yeah. I'm so sorry, now I just, is this how it's fresh then? Oh, yeah, it's fresh, all fresh, you do one that's right there now. Okay. Okay. I won't be offended if you walk out and you just saw what I said. She's a friend of mine too. Oh, good. Yeah, you see the movie? So Michelle, you're lucky. I thought I would be when I came. I'm lucky, thank you. Really sorry, goes, you're going upstairs. I go, yeah, okay. She's a legend. That's so funny. I don't get out that often here, so it's awesome. How's it going at, so you're running around a lot with Connects, like just back and forth to different offices all the time? Yeah. So I try to be in my home office 2 to 3 days a week and then out, alternating because I get high volumes of emails. And when I'm out at the offices and I'm driving, because it's an hour drive, I can't do anything. So I feel paralyzed. I need like 3 hours just at my computer. But I'll tell you, I had my listing in Gilwood and I was so happy that there were 2 offices there. Which one did you go to? The West Hill? I went to the one that was in the plaza. Where Buckhorn is upstairs? Yes. Yeah. There. The one in Scarborough? Yeah. And then I went to another one that was in Town one day. Danforth. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is where they do the thing on the Danforth. They were nice too. Like they were both good offices. Good. Oh, isn't that great? That's the beauty of the relationship, right? That we have now 16 locations. And it's fantastic because my buyer was there and we did the deal with them, and it helped us. Yeah. Good. I really appreciate it. Good. And Eric, oh yeah. So I feel like it's been very even for me. Yeah, it's sorry. Technology side of things, right? Yeah, technology side. Sorry. How's it going? Good. Really good. Hi, good morning. So we're going to give it just another few minutes and let everybody get up and get their seats. N-A-J, last name. I don't see it here, but that's okay. N-A-J. Give me 5 years. You're going to have a wedding. Oh, that's exciting. Perfect. Nina. Hey, Gregory.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Nina. Hi.
Yes.
Good, how are you? I'm glad you're here. Yeah, me too. Yes. She's making me think all kinds of. Oh, good. She's signing me up for everything. And she's doing her job well. I don't think I'll need that, but these are new. Okay, perfect. We got it. I might need it actually. Yeah.
Hey, Gregory, how are you? Why are you wearing 2 watches? Huh? Why are you wearing 2 watches? 2 watches? Today I'm wearing only 1 because I knew you were going to ask me.
No, I think everybody has 2 wives, and when he goes to the other one, he changed it, and he forgot the other.
In Turkey, we are allowed to have more than 1.
Oh my.
Or we used to anyway, so I keep it the old fashion.
That is so funny, Gregory.
How many? Yes.
Yes. Florence wouldn't stand for it. I said Florence wouldn't stand for that.
No way. Oh my God, there she comes from.
That's where she comes from. What's wrong with where she comes from? That's so funny. All right. What are we for time here? Is that?
That's precise. It's 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Usually.
Yeah, I'll just give it a few minutes.
parking and everything.
I get it, I know.
Okay, what's my next one?
Want to see me later. Your pop with Jack.
Right.
Are you enjoying them?
Yeah.
Overwhelming?
No,
Good.
no, not at all. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
What is it that you think you're looking for?
It's hard for me to
Biggest
explain. Like,
concern
even the one I
is-
took yesterday morning, it was fine, but
Yes.
it's stuff
Okay,
that
what's
I-
your biggest challenge?
Uh,
Start there. Like, what is the thing, that one thing in your business that is just like, if I could just solve this, I'd be good. Oh, okay.
And that's been a hard one.
Yeah.
So I thought by taking more courses and all, it's going to,
Dissipate a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has a little bit, but not to the point where,
So I don't know what's behind that because we haven't had the conversation, but let's see if something changes today.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do whatever it's gonna take. Right? So,
Yes.
Well,
whatever it
that's,
is.
that right there is 80% of the solution.
You know, maybe you include in some kind of couple of psychiatrists or whatever, I don't know. I'm kidding.
It's okay. Lisa.
So we'll just kind of, we will.
I can't have you there, because I need one too, so it's okay.
So then we will just kind of start, and that's actually probably a good intro. And as I say that, we've got 3 people bringing in, so I'll just pause. At this point, I'll just say hi to everybody at home who's on live broadcast. You're not here, you can't engage with us. I cannot hear your questions, but I'm glad you're tuned in. No, not at all.
Okay.
Come in, no worries, no worries. Good morning, everyone. Some of you I have not had the chance of meeting and introducing myself to, and others I have not seen in forever, so this is really great that I get to come back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle Risi. I am part of the Risi family of Your Community Realty, but I'm the broker of record owner for Royal LePage Connect Realty. Hence the logo, which I didn't realize until somebody pointed it out this morning. I did not change that, but that's okay because Royal LePage Connect Realty is your sister company. And so
You are.
yeah. And so what that means is we've got a beautiful relationship with Royal LePage Connect Realty out in Durham, Toronto regions, which means we've got 16 locations for you guys to be able to access and meet clients from. So if you're ever out in Ajax, Pickering, Scarborough, Danforth, Roncesvalles areas, feel free to stop in and reach out to the managers if you need assistance, because it is one big happy family. So we were just kind of having a side conversation, which I thought was actually a great opening and intro, and that was, what is the one challenge you're facing in your business today that if you could just say, if this could be solved, I would be good? Anybody want to throw something out there? The market, okay. Some things we have control over, right? And some things we don't. The weather, again, you don't have control over that. Technology and marketing, good. Can you elaborate a little bit more? Is it that you're feeling that you don't know enough, or it's not working for you?
I don't know enough.
Don't know enough? Okay. Anyone else? Somebody had a
I
hand.
think the problem is the people and their personality. We don't have control of the people, the customer, yeah.
Right. Interesting.
It's
So
not
that will, yeah,
predictable. They are not predictable for us.
they're not predictable for you. So interesting. I want to touch base on that after we finish the presentation, because I want to see if that changes for you. Because sometimes it's just in the way we're doing our business and who we're attracting to our business. Would it be fair to say that if you guys could pick your ideal client to work with, that your business would be great? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we have no headaches.
No headache. Well, I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee that.
I was gonna say that I think that it's not, for me anyways, it's not so much the client,
Mhm.
it's the agents.
The agents.
I
Okay.
have a real hard time dealing with the agents.
Okay. In what way?
There's sloppiness on their offers.
Okay. So
some
maybe the work
mistakes they make,
etiquette
so,
and
you know, you can't reach them, they don't get back to you until the next day, so it used to be that you could put a deal together with even just one night, or maybe even just 2 days the most. It drags on for a whole week.
right. Yeah. So that, you know, that, and that's interesting
And that's
because
aggravating, it's so.
it is, it
it's
can
like-
be, absolutely it can be, especially if you've come from a time in the business where everything was done in collaboration and there was partnership. It didn't matter if you were competitors, there was a mutual understanding of we have to work together to get this done. And so it's funny because what has started happening, and it wasn't that it wasn't there before, it's just more evident now. I usually like to say this, each and every one of you are lifestyle entrepreneurs, and you may not have ever looked at yourself that way, but if we take a look at what a lifestyle entrepreneur is, it is somebody who simply decided to start a business so that it afforded them a lifestyle that they were after. So this is not a job or a career that people typically choose after high school. It's not something that we say, you know, when I grow up, I want to be a realtor. Okay, it doesn't happen. And so it's usually the second, sometimes third, sometimes fourth career path for most people. And the driving force behind why you choose real estate is what?
Make money.
Make money, but what else? Flexibility. And it's flexibility for being able to, maybe keep another job, maybe be with your children, maybe help aging parents, maybe travel. So everybody has this different sense of what they want their business to look like. And the vehicle for getting to the lifestyle that they're after is their business. And so we're seeing it more because we didn't have 44,000 realtors in 1980. Right? And so volume has increased. And so that does pose challenges. It's not to make excuses for sloppiness. It's not to make excuses for people not making themselves available. Because at the end of the day, it is a people business. And if you can't get in front of people, then you're really not in business. And so that's a good one. Now, it's not something we're going to talk about today, but it is definitely a good one. So where I usually like to start off is this. All the challenges that you guys are facing in your business are not unique. They are not unique to you. They are also not unique to our industry. Across the board, in every industry, even in tech industry, they're having challenges with keeping up with the pace. What do people want? How do I communicate effectively? How does, what marketing technique is going to work? So all of these challenges that you guys are experiencing and feeling are not unique to you. What stops you? So if you could take a look at your business, our business is a people business. We are dealing with people on a daily basis, which means communication comes into play, which means marketing comes into play. What is the number one challenge that you are facing right now in that realm of the business?
For me, it's, I find the expectations of my clients, whether it's sellers who still don't either want to accept or appreciate, maybe it's just your expertise as an agent. You have the knowledge, you can look at the market. They seem to still have this idea of how it should be done or what the price should be, and they're setting it.
Yes.
As opposed to letting the market set the price.
So you're not really in control of the process anymore.
And yeah, I do a lot of that with sellers.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say that that would translate into their perceived value of you?
If I was speaking about one particular agent, they seem to value me, but they don't care. They tell me that, we've hired you because we know how, they respect me and so on. But when it comes to even simple things like, please do not refusing showings.
Right.
We're not going to get your house sold if we don't have showings.
Mm-hmm.
So there's little things. And I guess maybe it's wondering as agents to really vet out those sellers and find out how motivated they really are.
Yep. And even further to that, I'll argue that sometimes it's not the motivation, it's the underlying need. And it's also the underlying, who are they as a person? And what is the best way of communicating with them? And personality comes into play, which was, a comment that was made over here. So yes, absolutely. Anything else? Mm-hmm.
And I think the supply and demand, when you look at each family or family prices, at least to real estate.
Yep. So there again, coming back to the volume of realtors, the perceived competition out there is high, and I say perceived because I will argue that I do not believe that 44,000 realtors are actually working. So that's one thing, but it is also too, I have somebody in the business that I'm going to use. Mm-hmm. Anything else in terms of your marketing capability to communicate, your value, your message, your services?
commissions in there.
What's happening with commissions?
We have to cut.
Why do they cut commissions?
We can,
Because
we allow them.
they are, everybody wants more in their pocket. And I go through this, and you know I've gone
Yeah.
through this. And I had a relative of mine show, and it's not even my relative, because I would have killed him, but it's my husband's relative showed up at my house, and we had a beautiful meal Sunday, and all of a sudden he's going, do you know, I want to list my house. He goes, I can get 1%. There's a guy, 1% realty, offering 1% and 1% to the cooperating. And I just looked at him, and his wife was rolling her eyes, and my husband goes, who the hell's gonna come for 1%? Like, it was good he said that, but he goes, if you know how to do it, Mary, I'll go and do it. I said, you know, or somebody said, it's like a doctor, right? We're like doctors, or experts in our industry. So do you go hire a heart surgeon, or do you take the knife yourself and cut out your heart? Like, you know, like, to put it
So-
bluntly, right?
Right, and so what's
So-
underneath that is that value piece. So if I was, and we're gonna go through a little exercise too, but
some
imagine
people
you're at a
don't
convenience
care.
store and you're looking for gum, and there's 2 packs of gum, and you're not really like impartial to one particular brand of gum, but one is 99 cents, the other's $4.99. Which one are you gonna choose? 99 cents. Why?
It's cheap.
Because there's no difference, perceived difference in value. And so the challenge that everybody is facing, underneath that, there is a thread, a common thread, that it is the how do I show value, which is where then we came up with the how do you differentiate yourself? Because if we don't differentiate ourselves in our market, we are looked at as all the same, which is why when you get in front of clients, the first question is, well, so-and-so can do it for 1%, can't you? They don't see the difference in value. And so what stops us, it's not even what stops us, what gets in the way of us being able to communicate our value and to communicate our services and to stand out, which is what we want to do, right? We all want to be that, or show we know we are different. We know we're different than you know, other brokerage models out there, what other realtor models out there. And so we know that this is what we are after. How do I show that I am different? And what stops us is this. The problem is that there's just so much noise in our industry. So you can send those emails, you can post those social media posts, you can place an online ad, you can go door knocking and cold calling. You're competing with noise. And so how do you then get your message across when this is what is out there? And you guys are experiencing this on a daily basis. You open your inbox every morning. I don't know about you, but mine is up to 150, and half of it is junk. And half of it is people trying to sell their product at me or trying to sell their service at me. I have may not see the value in it because I might not need it at that point. B, it's all the same. So the messaging is all generic. Nothing speaks to me personally. And C, there's just so much of it. And so the problem that we're facing is the noise factor. And how do we then beat through the noise so that we can differentiate ourselves, so that we can stand apart from every other realtor, because we know that what we do is different. You know that what you do is different. You kind of talked about it already when you talked about the 1% realty. It's like, okay, yeah, so I can put a sign on your lawn and charge you a total of 2%, but is that going to sell your house? And you know that you go different to the, you know, different lengths and extents for marketing and servicing and all of that, but they're not seeing the value. And so that's really what it comes down to, is how do we get that opportunity to display and communicate our value?
So Michelle,
Yeah.
so are you saying that maybe going back to, instead of having all this technology and all this noise going on, is maybe going back to more personal? The personal meaning touch base
Points,
personally,
yeah.
see the person personally, talk to them personally. Wouldn't that be better to go back to that
So let me ask you, what happens when you do that?
connection? If you're doing the right
Right.
things, connection.
And when you're
it
speaking to
sticks.
somebody personally, exactly, so there's a sticky factor there.
Right,
What else happens when you start getting more personal with people
you build a relationship.
and you're speaking to whose need? Their specific need.
Right.
So can that be accomplished working on mass communication and marketing? Absolutely it can. That's what target marketing is for. But we don't see it that way, and we don't run our businesses that way, and that's the problem that we're running into. And so how do you position yourself to capture the market that you're after, that you are each after? Because each and every one of you has a different market. How do you do that and get the results that you want? So,
I know, it feels some days I'm spinning.
and you probably are, but
Yeah.
realistically, you probably are spinning. Because what we are doing is just kind of chasing our tails and doing what we think we know is best without really measuring what is really most effective. And coming back to how we used to do business, the reason why it worked is because it was targeted and it was specific. And if I was talking to you, I was talking to you. I wasn't talking to Robin. I was talking to you and your needs. And so now what's happened is when we start now moving from that personalization to mass communication, we've lost that. So now we have to bring it back. Pendulum has to swing again. And so here we have your ideal client, and I'm going to talk about what an ideal client is. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have you and your expert services. And so how do you get your client to move towards you and towards your expert services? And the answer lies in your ability to be able to identify who is it that you want to speak to? Who is it that is going to be most compatible with the service level that you offer? What is their specific need? And then how your ability to then be able to communicate that. So what stands between your ideal client moving towards you and you moving towards them is this right here. And it's your ability to know who you're speaking to, the ability to know who's going to be the best fit for your service. Who do you want to actually work with? Because we all know we don't want to work with everybody. I mean, we do if it's going to pay the bills, but ideally that's not how we want to operate our business. And our ability to communicate value. So that's how that spectrum looks. And so then who is our ideal client is the very first question that we have to tackle, and then talking about how to reach them. So if we go through current methods of lead generation, what are some of you guys doing right now? Come on in. What are you guys doing right now in terms of generating leads? We have on the left-hand side the more traditional methods. We've got the cold calling, the door knocking, the flyers. I realized I have networking twice, wasn't intentional. Open houses for sale by owners. On the opposite side, we have more new ways of doing business technology. So Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, social media, email marketing, blogs, video marketing. I mean, that list can go on and on and on. So there's 1,000,001 ways of generating leads. How are you generating your leads? Throw it out there.
So I really do have a mix of both. I think you have to have a sort of passive approach to touch, and you have to have a more, like you said, personal approach.
Yep.
I'm a hardcore door knocker.
Yep.
That's always been where I've generated most of my business.
Yep.
So I'll continue to do that in conjunction with really looking at the fact that the market is changing and having to really create a social presence. But I do agree that one-on-one conversations are so important. Coffee, this, that. It's really building trust and seeing that being able to talk real estate with people on a regular basis, you become the expert in their eyes.
So you've touched on a few things that we're going to talk about. One is the word expert, so expert services. The other one is that like, know, and trust factor, because that is those three things go hand in hand with any kind of expert service. And you're right. So there's two things that happen in our business. For those of you who's ever taken a prospecting boot camp before? Okay, so you'll know in a prospecting boot camp that we've always taught and leaned towards a more active approach to prospecting. And so if we take a look at any one of these forms of prospecting, we could categorize those as an active method and a passive method. An active method are those things where you are physically getting out there to find the people who are interested in buying or selling. A passive method is looking at more of that attraction piece. So if I go back to here, this is a passive approach, but it has to happen. This is what's running in the background of your business without you having to do anything. When you're working more active methods, that's now you getting out there finding people. So it could be the door knocking, it could be the cold calling, it could be the networking, it could be for sale by owners. It could also be Google ads and social media, but it depends on how you're using them. These are all methods of communication, by the way, too, which is the next thing. So if we take a look at our channels of communication, so we've identified that in order now to differentiate ourselves, we have to figure out who our ideal client is. Then we've taken a look at, okay, so I've identified my ideal client. These are different ways that I'm already doing my business. And these are the different methods that I'm using to communicate. So it might be in text or voice communication. It might be face-to-face. It might be video marketing. It might be online ads. It might be through blogs. It might be through, whatever all those channels of communication are. Every lead generation strategy that I've mentioned, every channel of communication that we've spoken about, they all work. The key is finding out which one's going to work for your target client. And the reason I say that is this. If you are working with an older generation, somebody who is maybe in retirement age, is text communication or social media ads going to be effective? No. Does it mean it doesn't work? No. It just means it's not right for your target client. So do you see how we have to always come back to that target client? Who are we speaking to? Because if we don't know who we're speaking to, we have no idea how to communicate our message so that they actually receive it. And isn't that the point of effective communication? Like if you really drill down the definition of effective communication, it's being able to deliver our message to the people who need to hear it. If they're not hearing it and you're not reaching them, you're shooting darts in the air, in the dark. Basically, that's what you're doing, which is why we end up with the aren't you all the same? Because we're not communicating effectively and we're not targeting our business the way we used to.
But in retrospect, that's one up. Like he's only cares about his pocket, his commission. And you know what? Go. You know what I told him on Monday? Go call 3 agents, include me in there, do a listing presentation, and then decide what you want to do.
There
And
will
that's it.
always
There's always
be,
going to be that one person.
there will always be a do-it-yourself group of people. They have always existed. They will always continue to exist. This is nothing new. This did not evolve because somebody came up with a brokerage model of 1% realty. They've always been around. What did they do? Think about it. Let's take a step back. Forget the fact that we disagree. Forget the fact that it is causing a bit of a disruption in how we do our business. What are they doing effectively? That business model, 1% realty, who are they targeting?
People that don't care about the value so much as they care about the financial implications.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all about finance.
They know their target market, they know how to communicate with them, they know what their needs are, they know how to speak to it, and they're delivering the service. That's what they're doing. Now, I will argue that perception is everything. They may not be as successful as we think they are. And I really haven't seen the demographic or the segment of do-it-yourselfers grow substantially over the last 15, 20 years. I think it's just all we've done is taken the magnifying glass and really focused on them. But they've always been there. They've always been there. They always will be there. So you kind of have to look at, is that your business model? Is that who you're after? Then put blinders on.
I'd rather do
It's
a stranger
irrelevant.
than family.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. So all of these things will work. Everything that is out there and at your grasp to be able to generate business, to be able to communicate to people, it all works. It just, you need to figure out what that recipe is for the people that you're targeting, because otherwise they're not going to hear your message, and that's really the key of it. Any questions so far? So to lead us into the second part, then here's what I want to leave you with. When you try to speak to everybody, you're speaking to no one. How many of you, and you don't have to answer the question unless you want to, but how many of you in your marketing efforts, whether it's paid advertisements, whether it's print advertising, whether it's on your postcards that you're delivering, social media, how many of you would you say are being pretty generic with your messages?
So I would say yes and no. BombBomb, I started using BombBomb.
Yeah.
And the reason why I went to BombBomb as opposed to, or Videolicious,
yeah,
whichever, as opposed to the standard like Buffini emails, and is because I never felt connected to the material that I was sending out.
Right.
With those type of campaigns. What I like about BombBomb is you have both, and you have the option of personalizing the video that you attach. So they see me, and they're getting Robin, the realtor, not just the messaging. And I get to see my clicks, but I like the fact that it's a little bit more personal, and it keeps you in consistent communication.
Now, are you using this in your prospecting, lead generation, or is this in relationship building with people that you already have in your database?
So it's relationship building,
okay.
But I also think there's so many more applications that I can use. I just haven't gone there yet. And I think that one, you can make it personalized. So somebody's birthday, on the anniversary of their purchase, there's so many things you can do with it. Cake, whatever you want to do. But what I like about it is you're still getting the consistent touches, because they do send out videos on social media on a regular basis. this gives you it speaks to this whole point that it gives you the opportunity to at least add something personal.
Yeah. So now, could you,
I'm using bomb.
yeah, both will work. So now you're using that for the people that you already know. How about for the people that you don't know, the people that you want? That's the point. How many of you in your marketing efforts are being very generic? List with me. I'm hardworking. I sell one house a minute. I'm #1 in the area, which, by the way, I really want to challenge somebody to advertise themselves as #2, because I really think you'll stand out because everybody is #1. Everybody's #1. But when you speak to, it would be good, and you got to have the character for it, right? It would have to really match. But when you speak to everybody, you speak to no one. And so in your marketing efforts, I really want you to start looking at and evaluating and really asking yourself a question. Am I speaking to everybody? Or are you trying to speak to everybody? Because this is what everybody is, this really is how we're doing it. We've been taught to cast the net and then reel it in, and whoever comes in I might be able to work with. It's the sales funnel. So here's our sales funnel. For those of you who have been in business or taken marketing courses, you'll know that this is how we've all been trained to work on our business, right? Whatever you put in eventually comes out as a client, a sale, whatever the business is, right? They're actually scrapping this model, and here's why. There's two faults with this. The first, it says, the minute you stop putting something in, nothing happens, which is not true. The second thing is, where's the client in all of this? They're the byproduct. They're the end result. Is that true in our business? Where is our client? Our client is the center of everything. Our client needs to be the driving force behind what messages we share, what value we bring to the table, how we communicate, where we communicate, the services that we provide. It's all client-centric. This does not show us that. Here's the other thing that this does with us, and it plays with our mindset. It says, if you can imagine a hose, you turn on the hose, water comes out, turn off the hose, nothing happens. How many of you go with the analogy of, I wake up every day unemployed? It doesn't work. I get where it is like you think you're motivating yourself by saying that, but it's actually sabotaging you, and it's draining. That's not the way you want to operate your business. What I'd rather you guys start doing is if you could visualize a top. Remember those toys, the tops that would spin? You would touch the top and it would keep on spinning. That's your business. Every time you take an action in your business, whether it's big or small, that's you touching the top. It spins. What happens? What's being created? Momentum. Just because if I was going with this model, that it would tell me that I touch it, it might move. The minute I stop touching it, it stops moving. That's not what happens. The minute you have a conversation with somebody or send out a great social media post and you connect with somebody on their level, momentum has been created. That's what you're after. So I want you to forget this sales funnel, start thinking of your business as a top. Every time you can touch that top, your business spins. Every conversation, every amazing post that you put out there, every great conversation, every great meeting. It doesn't matter if you forgot to follow up with somebody 4 days ago, because what do we do when that happens? We say, oh, it's been so long, forget it. And then we don't do anything. But momentum has been created. Something was started. You can go back and revive that. All you have to do is go back and touch that top. So that's the visualization I want you guys to have of your business, is that top. Anytime you touch that top, something is happening. Just keep on touching that top. So this whole speaking to everybody, trying to speak to everybody, you actually end up speaking to no one, comes back to how effective we are at targeting our message to people. So identifying your ideal client is what's going to change everything, because when you identify who you're speaking to, all of a sudden that's your roadmap. It's your roadmap for the content that you're going to share, the value that you bring, the tone of voice you're going to use, and it doesn't matter if this is online or offline. What stops us from dealing with a target market? I should stand in front so you guys don't see those answers. What stops you? The target marketing is not new. You know, we used to be able to do this very easily back in the 80s and early 90s.
What stops us? I don't know. Fear.
Fear, yeah.
Can I just ask you for a clarification?
Yeah.
When we're talking about your ideal client and your target market.
Yeah.
Are we talking about a personality profile or are we talking about?
We're gonna get to that.
Okay, because I'm.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that.
So if I asked you today, I want you to target market. I want you to figure out, forget trying to reach everybody who's interested in buying or selling, Robin, or forget even the geographic area that you want to look. I want you to specifically target market somebody. And that's how I want you to run your business. What would stop you?
I don't know if anything would, if that's probably nothing. I just have to figure out who I want.
Okay, so that right there, that's one. Maybe I don't know who I want to target.
Yeah, look, I see it at different levels. I don't, well, your first line, I don't know who they are because when I start to target in, I think, oh yeah, but then I'm leaving that segment. And I should be going after them, and then, oh yeah, but I should be going after that population.
So that whole fear of missing out.
Yeah.
If I go too narrow in my focus and I only choose to work with a certain population or segment of the market, I'm going to be excluding everybody else. So I can tell you right now, the top 3 things that stop people from getting involved in target marketing is 1, I just don't know who they are. And I really don't know where to find them once I do identify them. And it's that fear of missing out. If I start getting too specific in my marketing efforts, I'm going to be excluding people. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. And before I get through all of this, I'm going to read this little quote for you. It says, algorithms change, tactics change, but the fundamentals of learning what people want, seeing exactly where you can help them, and then telling the right people about it are the classic strategies that have worked 1,000 years ago and will continue to work 1,000 years from now. So all of this is basically saying it really doesn't matter if you're casting a net wide. You're not effective, number 1. And the reason why you're not effective is because you're not able to identify what people actually want and need from you. And if you don't know what people want and need from you, then where's your value? Then you're just being like everybody else. I'm a realtor. I can help you buy and sell. And I might do it quick, and I might do it, what's the famous, phrase that I hear every realtor using is in the least amount of time with the least amount of inconvenience with the most money in your pocket. Well, guess what? That's not differentiating you. It might be true, but that's not differentiating you. It's not enough. That's not enough anymore. So when you focus on the right people, you have clarity in all of your marketing efforts. You're able to get their attention, which is, if we go back to that noise, that is the number 1 problem in our industry right now. You create value for the people who need and want it. So now you're not sitting at a table with somebody who's only interested in how much money they're keeping in their pocket, who is actually might like the fact that he can do it himself. You're not wasting your energy and your time on people like that because that's not who you want to connect with. That's not in alignment with the type of service that you provide. So you being able to pull yourself out of that vicious circle of trying to reach everybody is what's going to help you differentiate yourself. And ultimately, it's going to bring you more leads because now you're actually targeting the right people.
In the beginning, when I first started, I would take on any client, anytime. And I have to say that in the last year or so, I've decided that it actually sucks the life out of me and takes away from the clients who deserve my attention. So recently, I door knocked a lady in the summer with another agent, and she was really almost on the verge of being abusive, and I hadn't even signed a contract with her. And I just said to her, listen, I'm not a discount agent.
Yeah.
I don't work for a discount brokerage.
Yeah.
These are my fees.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but maybe we are not synchronized. We're not a good fit.
Yeah.
And I actually felt really empowered that I actually said I refused to work with her.
Yeah.
And so the other colleague of mine, he I said, you can try your luck. And he did. And she's come, like, now that I've said absolutely not, I don't feel that this is going to work. She's like running after us, running after me. And I almost feel like when you tell them, this is my limit and I'm not going to let you cross it sometimes. I mean, I still don't want to work with her. It's against my better judgment.
Right.
But having the ability to say no is good, or define your rules is amazing.
Yeah. It's not even the saying no part. It's that you stood in perfect alignment of your integrity. It was like, I know what I want out of this experience and I'm not willing to compromise that. And that's not to say, guys, like you go, especially for the new people, and I'm glad you brought that up because as new realtors, you would not want to turn down business. That's not, you're trying to get started. And that's not the idea. That's not what I'm suggesting to you. What I'm suggesting is when you are out there trying to build your business, remember we have a passive thing going on in the background, and then you have what actually happens on a day-to-day basis. The thing that's going on in the background that you're building that momentum for, that's the part that you need to be clear on who you want to start attracting. You're not going to turn down business unless they're abusive. And then, you know, and really and truly, it's not worth the amount of energy and frustration that might cause. But that's a personal business choice. I know a lot of people who are like, I really don't care. I need the money, I'm starting my business, and I'll take whatever I get. Great. But that's your decision to be made.
Good for you, Robin, because I did the same thing. I had my accountant for a sale of business. And like, I'm good in commercial, like I know commercial. And I turned around and I did the same thing. I'm sorry. These are my fees. These are my, you know, and it's best, you know, if you're not willing to sign a BRA and you don't want to do this and that, I'm not going to work for you. Why do I got to kill myself for you?
These are all
And I was
business
so proud of
decisions.
myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, there is an empowerment feeling behind that, but that might not be a reflection of how everybody wants to operate their business. So that's not what I'm suggesting at all. All I'm saying is when you can start identifying who you want to speak to, you do have choice. You're creating the opportunity for choice because you're attracting the people who resonate with the value that you bring and the messages that you want to share. And so how we start doing this is three things. First, identify who our ideal client profile is. Second, understand what their lifestyle is. And the third is learning how to communicate your value against what their actual needs are. Because you could be the best salesperson in the world, but if you're trying to talk to somebody who does not need that kind of service, there's no value. Does it mean that you have no value? No, it means that they don't see value in that. And so you just shifting your message sometimes makes all the difference in the world. And so the first thing we're going to start is identifying your ideal client, which is what Robin had asked. So when we're looking at an ideal client profile, remember this can go in two different ways, and we're going to talk about both different scenarios. It is, am I in your way there?
Yeah, that's great.
It is, and I will send you guys this so you don't have to write it down or panic, but two things. You're identifying an ideal client for your business, who you would like to work with, who you feel you would be the best fit for, who you feel would actually see value in the type of service and the type of expert that you are. And the second is you being able to identify a target client for those listings that you have, because you're also going to find that that's a very powerful tool to start using in your marketing efforts. So here's 10 questions we're going to use to define an ideal client. Is anybody right now working on a target market?
I kind of am. I've started to.
Who? What are they? Who are they?
They're empty nesters.
Empty nesters?
And I'm trying to transition them into condos and then sell their homes.
So they're downsizers.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else working with an ideal target group? Newcomers? Okay.
Yes.
Newcomers? Anybody working first-time home buyers? Not targeted? Okay. So then let's go with the downsizers. Okay. Let's go with when I talk about an ideal client, and I'm going to give you a little handout that you can take back with you. I really ask you to literally create a character. Like, I want you to name them. I want you to tell me where they live. I want you to tell me if they're married and have children. I want you to tell me who they follow on social media, if they are on social media, what their interests are. So that's how deep you're going to go. Let's use these 10 questions as just a baseline. So the first is, we have our downsizers, okay? How old are they?
Well, they're between 45 to 65.
Okay, narrow it down. Pick an age for me. Who do you want to target?
Ones that I found that I'm working with.
No, forget who you're working with. Who do you want to work with?
Oh,
This is your chance to really dream up your perfect character, right?
Well, maybe 40 to 55.
Okay, so that's not really a downsizer, which is fine. So they're want to say 45?
45.
Okay, so they're 45 years old. Where do they hang out?
Okay, on Thursday.
The keg on Thursday nights.
They probably don't have money.
What did you say?
I'm 42 or 45 in these days,
Okay.
Good.
Good, so let's go with this.
I'd love to even try, like, because I am getting a lot of the older people, but I'd love to try the millennials, if I could get in with it, it's a totally different.
Okay, so let's go with this. We're just, because we can get pulled in 50 million directions with this. So let's just go, we have a 45-year-old. Can everybody picture a 45-year-old?
Yeah.
Okay, is this person a man or a woman? A female. So we have a female 45-year-old. What's her name? Give her a name.
Nina.
Nina. Nina's 45, okay? And is she married?
Getting separated. She's a strong woman.
She's divorced? Okay, so Nina is 45. She's divorced. She's very independent, I heard. Does she have any kids?
Yeah.
She's got 2 kids. How old are they?
High school.
12.
Okay, so 12 and 7. Okay, so younger kids, maybe one's approaching high school. Okay, so where does Nina hang out?
It's the gym.
Gym?
Outside the school.
School.
Outside of the school?
In the principal's office.
Yeah.
Therapist's office.
Therapist office, okay. When Nina is looking for information on something, maybe it's she needs to hire an expert, or maybe she's looking to see what's going on in politics, or maybe she's looking to see what the latest trends are. Where does Nina go to get her information? Google, Friends,
Neighborhood Facebook page.
Realtor.ca.
Facebook page. Okay, yeah. If she's searching for homes, she might go to realtor.ca. So she's online.
Yeah.
She's online. Okay, is she on social media?
Yes.
Instagram, Facebook,
Yes.
yeah. Twitter?
No, some people don't use Twitter as much. Not on Instagram.
What, a 45-year-old uses Twitter?
Yeah.
What does Nina do for a living? Lawyer?
Sure.
Okay, so she's a lawyer.
I love
Perfect.
that.
Actually, that's a great one. Because let's think about a 45-year-old divorcee female who has 2 children, who is a lawyer. Is she a pretty laid-back person?
No.
Yeah, we're off the downsizing part now. We're off the downsizing part. She's analytical, appreciation for factual information, systems and processes, right? There's a reason why she got drawn into law. Maybe fairness is important to her. Would it be fair to say then she has an opinion on politics?
Yes.
Like, she's not somebody like me who's ignorant to politics and just doesn't not want to hear the drama, right? There's enough drama going on in the world. I don't need to hear about Trump. So she would have an opinion on politics. Great. So we've already identified that she would probably move towards something online if she's looking for information. Maybe because she's busy, she might subscribe to Skim. Those of you who don't know what Skim is, it is something that will summarize all of the latest headlines in the news so that you don't have to actually find it and you don't have to read the entire thing.
Wow,
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
It's awesome. Okay. What are some of the challenges and frustrations that Nina is facing in her life today?
Time. She doesn't have
Time?
to do it on her own, or she would. She
Okay.
has capacity.
Yeah. So time, budget.
Location.
No,
but she's
It doesn't have to be house related. In her life right now, what are some of those frustrations that she's feeling? Relationships,
Lack of trust.
Trust issues.
trust issues. Yeah. Being a single parent. Mhm. What else? Would her thinking about now that she's divorced, or in the midst of getting divorced, do I stay in this house? Do we relocate? Where are the kids going to school? What are the best schools for them to attend? That would be probably important. Yeah. Would it be fair to say that she's maybe somebody who's very health conscious, right? Really wants to make sure now, hey, if I'm taking on all of the brunt of all of this, I got to make sure that I'm healthy and I'm well, both physically and emotionally, right? So that's probably going to be something that's at the forefront of what she's experiencing in her life. What are her goals and priorities right now?
For getting her children settled.
Getting her children settled, getting herself settled,
nice environment.
a positive, stable environment. What else?
Succeeding in her.
Succeeding in her career. I mean, she didn't go to law school for nothing, to drop out because, she's going to have a nervous breakdown. Like, she really wants to make this all work, right? So her goals and priorities are, how can I keep it all together? Would it be fair to say that she probably doesn't like change? Like, this is somebody who's very system oriented, right? Like, predictability is important. If she didn't need predictability, she'd probably have gotten into sales.
I also think she's somebody that
Right?
likes a challenge.
Pardon?
I also think she's somebody that likes a challenge.
She likes a challenge. She's not afraid of confronting issues. Yeah, absolutely. But she's out, her goals and priorities right now are, how can I keep all of this together? Like, I don't really want my life to change. I get that I'm going through a divorce, but I don't want my kids to suffer. I don't want to have to uproot anything. I want to keep things as normal and as same as possible. If she's on social media, which we've already established that she is, what are some of the brands that she likes? Who's she following? What?
Is it Dove?
Dove, yeah, could be, yeah.
Motivational
Quotes, inspirational accounts, Ariana Huffington, maybe her, Thrive magazine,
recipes.
Pinterest.
yeah.
Or she might be looking for someone to organize things for her
Yeah.
and get all this to happen.
What's
So
the
she-
new
I don't know what it is.
Netflix series out now on?
Oh,
Yeah, right.
what is it?
What's it actually called though?
Mary Kondo.
Mary Kondo. You've never heard of it? Oh my goodness, it's like the biggest.
Oh, I know, my daughters were telling me, it's some Japanese little lady
And
and she puts
she's-
everything so organized.
Or
Oh,
she
yeah.
talks
Oh my
about, you want to organize your life, you organize your house
Yes.
first.
Yes.
Agreed.
And she makes all these relationships towards that, and how you should be, discarding things that you haven't used. Like, she's got a whole
Oh, I
thing.
think I gotta listen to her.
She's very on extreme with how she does things, but she's gaining this huge following. Why? Because people are feeling chaotic, right? Everybody feels chaotic. And so they're just looking for a little bit of structure and organization. So she's probably somebody that would gravitate to somebody like Marie Kondo, or another account that talks about home organization. Fair to say she's probably following like luxury homes or nice vacation spots, beautiful houses and spaces. Dating sites. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she'd actually be on that yet. It's a trust issue. Yeah. I don't think she's there yet. She's just looking at keeping everything together right now. So would she be following the Kardashians?
No.
No, she's not
Oh,
that.
she's
She is
gonna follow the good girls.
the good girls. What's that?
It's about 3 women
Yeah.
with kids that they are trying, to manage their lives.
Awesome. So she'd probably be following that. Would she be maybe on Facebook, part of maybe some mom groups?
Yes.
Right? Maybe a special interest. Do you think she has any hobbies outside of, work and kids?
Maybe she likes to run or
Yoga.
bike.
Yoga.
Yoga,
Yeah.
exercise, maybe something on the wellness part of things. Maybe she's having this big awakening of like, there's more to life than what I was doing. And, maybe I want to start exploring health and wellness. And now there's that new meditation. Yeah. So she's probably following some of these people on social media, right? So if you were to communicate with somebody, what was her name again? Nina?
Nina.
Well, if you were communicating with Nina, what form of communication would she appreciate?
Direct.
Would she want you to pick up a phone and call
Not
her?
during the day.
No, Facebook.
She wants email, she wants text. She's at
Email,
work,
text, social, right?
Yeah.
Direct messaging, good.
But doesn't mind going for a coffee.
Doesn't mind going for a coffee or a glass of wine. What phrases and language would she use? Would she be somebody that would be up on the latest buzzwords? Like, would you hear her saying FOMO, for fear of missing out? And no, she's probably going to be very articulate, right? In the types of words that she uses. She probably appreciates a nicely written article, something that makes sense and is logical. Budget. We talked about budget. What would be her budget?
Under
Under a million.
Under $1 million?
Condo, half a million.
Would she be looking at a condo
She would not, she's looking at a townhouse for a 70.
or a detached in a nice area, right? Maybe a new build, right? I can see somebody like that would be very new build. Mount Pleasant and Eglinton, yeah. What does a day in her life look like?
It's all about routine.
Yeah.
It's all about
5:30, has a half-hour run.
Yeah.
Gets the kids up, takes them to school, gets to the office, leaves at 3. And then works at 8.
Yeah, so very structured, right? Very structured, very predictable. What makes her happy?
seeing her children happy.
Yep,
That glass of wine on a Friday night.
that glass of wine on a Friday night.
Or getting her responsibility done at the end of the day. If
Yeah.
she accomplishes her responsibility, at the end of the day, she'll be happy.
She's probably a checklist person.
Yeah.
What- Yeah, is that what you were saying?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that what matters to her is at the end of the day, she just needs that, you know what, I go, 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 go. She probably wouldn't want it any other way, but she just needs that breath of fresh air. Good, good. So when we're trying to attract somebody like Nina, we need to now take into consideration, we've done all those 10 questions. You see how all of a sudden, just us going through those 10 questions, we kind of have a better idea of who this person is that we want to speak to?
Do you have any of these notes? All of the available?
I'm going to send those, yeah, I'm going to send those 10 questions. You'll have all of that, and you'll have a worksheet for how to actually create the story of your character. Yeah. So we now know Nina more than we did when we first started, right? We started with a 45, 55-year-old, but now we've really narrowed it down. Does it give you a little bit more clarity just in that exercise, being able to figure out, if I was going to bump into somebody like Nina, where would I find them? What accounts or Facebook groups should I be a part of? How should I communicate with her? What's going to really matter to her? What value could I bring to the table with somebody like Nina that's going to be very different than somebody like the person that's sitting at Ida's table?
I see this on two different levels, so I'm just curious. The first being what we're doing here is we're trying to figure out who our target market, the ideal clients
Yes.
overall that we like to look at. But if we apply those questions to every single client before we go into a listing appointment,
Mhm.
I think would completely change
How you
how you
interact.
and how you listen to them speak. Because we always have a preconceived notion of who they are based on what information we have.
See, I just did it. We always listen for the ability to respond. And what we need to start doing is listening without that preconceived what I want to say. It's like, let me just listen, not formulate a response in my mind, just really take it all in and then respond based on what she's bringing to the table or he's bringing to the table. Yeah, that's active listening.
So
We
this could
suck
be
at it.
done on two different levels, like sort of on a macro and a micro
Absolutely.
level. Individual clients, and then can we change our business to become this?
Yep, and I'll add the third one in there. When you do have listings, how are you advertising them to attract the ideal client for it? So we've talked about the ideal client profile. Now let's take a look at understanding their lifestyle. And before we can do that, we have to talk about what is lifestyle. So lifestyle, actual definition, is a mode of behavior that centers around activities, interests, opinions, attitudes, certain demographic information that are typical of a segment of a group of people. And the example I have is Zoomers. So we have multi-generations, right? We've got the millennials, we have the Gen Xers, we have the baby boomers. Everybody's familiar with the baby boomer? Okay. In that baby boomer category, if we were going based on the traditional way of doing our business, which is what we all end up doing, if we were attracting boomers, we'd have a generic message that might appeal to their stage of life that tries to reach everybody in that segment. True? Okay. If we take a closer look and we start actually going through those 10 questions, you'll start to see that there's about 2 to 3 segments within the baby boomer generation that actually have very different needs and actually need very different things from you if they were to hire you. And so I take the Zoomers as an example. So Zoomers are a segment of the baby boomer population, and just think of the word Zoom. What does that bring to you? What does that bring to mind? On the go, active. Yeah. Are these people ready to retire and move into a condo? No. Are these people about adventure and excitement and travel, social,
Big
hobbies, big? They're up to things. This is not the end of my life. Actually, this is probably the start.
But some
of
of
a
those
life.
Zoomers have retired.
Has nothing to do with where they're at in their business. We're talking about the lifestyle that they're involved in, because they could work or not be working. They're still a Zoomer, right? So this Zoomer is characterized by active seniors who enjoy and appreciate travel, staying fit, socialization, outdoors, adventure, excitement. This is that next stage. So if we were going with traditional marketing and we were throwing the, you're retired, it's ready to downsize, and that's the message you put, would you capture their attention? Absolutely not. In fact, you'd be contributing to the noise and the mumbo jumbo that is out there, and you just wouldn't even be validated. They actually it wouldn't even cross they would just see it in their inbox and it would flip right by because it doesn't match. It doesn't resonate with who they are. So if we take a look at lifestyle marketing then, lifestyle marketing is our ability, it's a technique that we can use to position either our products that we're selling to the homes or us as expert services in a way that it appeals to that specific target audience so that they perceive the value and see meaning in what we have to offer because now we're speaking directly to them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. So we talked about the ideal client profile. We talked about understanding the lifestyle. We kind of, when we summarized Nina, we basically said her lifestyle is active, it's busy. She's going to rely on conveniences, right? She's not going to be able to be home as much as she might have an appreciation for home cooked food and natural ingredients and maybe organic coffees, or she just doesn't have the time for that. So she doesn't mean she's not going to go after those things. She's going to rely on the convenience things. She's going to be somebody who sees value in service because she doesn't have the time to do it and she's trying to fit it all in. So her lifestyle is very much a convenience lifestyle. It is also very much an empowerment lifestyle. Somebody who is after I want to achieve my personal success and goals, and I want to figure out my life's journey, but I also want to make sure my kids are looked after, and I also want to make sure that nothing changes. And so she's got this lifestyle of activity, solid foundation, right? Predictability, and she's after that's all she wants. Just give her a bit of breathing room. This is what she's after. So her underlying need in all of this was that that's what you guys need to bring to the table if you're dealing with somebody like Nina. It's not I will do the best marketing and the photography and this. That's all great, but that's not speaking to her need. If you started approaching those conversations in a way that it's, you know what, Nina? You got your life, like you've got so much on the go. I'm going to be that person that's going to step in and assist you through this. Don't worry about this. I'm taking care of it. Don't worry about this. I'm taking care of it. In fact, you know what? I know you've got the little dog at home. Every time we have a showing, I'll come and take that dog out. Or whatever, you know what? But again, it's still, you're not changing your service. You're just speaking to it differently. Yeah. The last piece is learning how to communicate your value against their needs. And so I want to start with this. So learning to sell your value. Our industry is dominated by people who like to market their expert services the same way that we would a product. If I was to sell you this phone, I'd be talking about attributes, right? I'd be saying it's this much weight, it has this many pixels in the camera, and it's got this much speed. It's all attribute based. It's a product. That's how we're supposed to sell products. But we sell ourselves like products. We use attributes. I'm hardworking, I'm reliable, I'm trustworthy, all great, all important, all valuable, but is it different? If we're all hardworking and reliable and trustworthy, no wonder they see us all the same.
That's unique.
There's no uniqueness. You're not bringing that to the table. So yeah, you better bet if somebody comes to the table and says that I'm hardworking, reliable, and trustworthy, and here's a client testimonial. Oh, and by the way, I'm only charging 1%. Better believe it. When you sit down at the table, that's exactly what they're going to be asking you. Oh, hi, Siri.
You said that's what I thought.
That's what I thought. Thank you. I should bring her more often to my seminars. She agrees with me. So when we sell based on attributes, that's what that looks like. It's the reliable, it's the trustworthy, it's the hardworking. It's all important, but that should not be at the forefront of your marketing efforts.
Excuse me, Michelle.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question. Is it going to be okay when we go and ask the client?
No. That's for you.
What is it? I know,
So she asked all those 10 questions that I put up there. Is that something that we should go and ask the client? No, I wouldn't. If you wanted to take some of those, if you were doing a client interview and that was the way you gather information, but that to me feels very impersonal.
Please, but how are we going to know the person?
You're going to imagine. You're going to use other people around you. How many of you know millennials in your life? Could you come up with a pretty good judgment profile of who they are?
Yes.
Absolutely. How many of you know retiring seniors who are onto that, you really want to slow down? Could you come up with a good judgment? That's what you're using. There's no science behind it. It's about your ability to know people, and you need to trust that you know people. You are in a people business. Some of you have been in this business for a long time. You know people. You could probably classify somebody before they even opened up their mouth. So use that, rely on that judgment. And if you really are stuck, ask somebody like, hey, what do you think? Here's another thing you can start doing. Those Facebook groups and social media accounts, the reason why we go through all of that is that's a listening tool. You want to know what a single mom is really thinking and feeling and frustrations, go on to a Facebook group dedicated to moms and start just looking at some of the questions that they pose and things that they're looking for. You'll really get a sense of who they are by just listening.
But if I can give an example, when there are newcomers, migrants from other countries, especially countries that have so many problems, what they are looking is that we
safe, yes.
And we have to think about it, give it to them.
That's
yes?
right. And it's not just enough to say, hey, by the way, this neighborhood is safe. It's like you really need to talk about, yeah. No, I get what you're saying. You're exactly on the right spot. But you need to take that and elaborate. You need to paint a picture. I'm going to say this now, and it's going to come up again. People do not buy 4 walls. They buy a dream. That's what they're after. It's not the house that they fall in love with. The house just meets their needs. It's what they feel they can accomplish by living in that home. That's what people are after. So that's what you're selling. You're selling the lifestyle. You're selling the dream. And the only way you're going to know what that is if you go through that whole client profile exercise, because otherwise you don't know anything about them. So if we take a look at, and you used the word expert before, and that's why I said we're going to talk about it. We are an expert service. We are not equivalent to a roofing company or a plumbing company. We are in alignment with a profession like accountants, like lawyers. We provide expert services. So what matters in expert services are those 3 R's. That's the reputation, the referral, and the relationship. Those 3 things are what matters when you're selling expert services. And the only way you're going to get to reputation, relationship, and referral is through that like, know, and trust. People do business with people that they like, know, and trust. You need likability in order for people to get to know you. You need that know factor in order for people to get to trust you. So why you go through these exercises is because you need to find a commonality. You need to be able to speak directly to the way that person needs to be spoken to. But more than that, your message has to be so specific to them. I'm not going to talk to Celeste about a luxury vacation off on a yacht for 4 months. That's not her lifestyle. It doesn't matter to her. Actually, what matters to her is that her kids are going to a safe school. And guess what? I need to make sure that house is in that catch basin, because I'm not driving my kids. I got to go to work. They've got to take the bus. So I got to make sure that I'm in bus route. That's what matters to her. So when we're looking at expert services, the ways that we can sell that are by speaking to how they currently feel. So that's why we went through what are her frustrations, what are her needs, what's important to her, what's going to make her happy. Speak to how they currently feel and relate it to how they're going to feel after using you. Speak to what can be achieved from either using you or buying that home, and then speak to their needs and the lifestyle that they're after. So I'm going to give you an example of the drill. So here's a drill. I've never used a drill.
I have.
I'm not using you as an example. We'll use me. I have never used a drill, but you know what? I've got this amazing home project that I've been working on, and I'm almost at the end, and I really can't wait just to put those finishing touches on it. And I'm just about to finish up, and I realize I need a hole in the wall. What am I going to, I'm at the end. This is my weekend. I've got to get it done. I need a hole in the wall in order to finish this project. So where do I go? Home Depot. Walk through Home Depot. I'm going to find the aisle, wherever it is. I'm going to walk through the aisle, and I'm going to see probably 4 or 5 boxes like this, and they all look the same. They all have a picture of a drill. Maybe one's red and purple and green. It really doesn't matter. And on the front, this is German, but there might be another language or English, and it's going to have all the attributes of this drill, right? It might have 5 bits. It might have corded, cordless, fully rechargeable battery, a flashlight, whatever it is. It's going to list all these attributes, right, on this drill. And so I'm looking at them. I don't know anything about drills. I certainly know I'm probably not going to use one after this, but, good to have. I need it right now because I need my hole in the wall. So how am I going to pick my drill? They all do the same thing, right? They all have a cord or no cord.
Review.
Reviews? Yep. I might turn to a review.
I
I am with Paul, sales rep.
Just ask one has the most appealing.
They all look like this.
They all look like
They all
that.
look like this.
Price tag. It's not price.
Price. Price. No different than the gum. The brand. But there's, like, we can think, there's, I don't know about
Black &
reputable
Decker.
brands, Black & Decker, Bosch, I mean, they're all reputable, you've
Yeah.
all heard them. I might not choose a no name, but I might go with names that I've heard, but they all look the same. They all do the exact same thing according to the description that they have there. So I'm gonna choose based on price, because I'm not a professional drill person. I'm not gonna need, I'm not a contractor, I'm not gonna probably need it, so I just need the hole in the wall. That's all I need. So I'm gonna pick up the cheapest box and I'm gonna walk through. And now let's just say Celeste has a little booth and she's doing a demo. By chance she's selling a drill. And there's some people around and she's really taking the time to show and describe, and I see people happy, and I just kind of glance over and I notice her box doesn't have a drill on it. Actually, this drill's nowhere to really be seen. It's actually just somebody really happy sipping a glass of wine, looking at a beautiful project that they've created. And the poster that she has there also speaks to that. And now all of a sudden I look at that and I'm like, oh, that's what I want. I just want to finish my project. I just want to sit back with a glass of wine in my hand and appreciate what I've done. I just need the hole in the wall and I just want it done now. And I want it to be easy, and I want it to do it for me. And so Celeste says, oh, I see you're in the market for a drill. What are you doing? What are you up to? And so I start sharing. Well, you know what, Michelle? She says, I get it. You know what? There's 1,000,001 drills on the market right now. Let me tell you what's a little bit different about mine. You've never held a drill before, so you might not know this, but when you go and you point and you push it against the wall, there's a bit of a kickback. This one has very little kickback, so there's nothing to be intimidated about. It's actually very easy. Really, if I could even say this without it being false advertising, it pretty much does the hole yourself, like all on its own. You really don't have to do much. All you got to do is point, click, and it's done. The hole in the wall that you're looking for is done. You can sit back and complete your project, easy peasy. I look at the price. Maybe it's $10, $15 more. Is there a chance I might choose her drill?
Yes.
Why?
Because
Because of the service.
You made it simple.
Made it simple. What was I after?
Something simple.
What is my result that I'm looking for?
Put the hole in the wall and it's the easiest way.
I just want the hole in the wall, and she painted the picture of the hole in the wall. That's all she that's all I needed, and that's what she spoke to. This is gonna get you the hole in the wall. In fact, it doesn't matter that it's a flashlight or if it's corded or not corded, because you know what, Michelle, you're not a professional contractor. What's gonna matter is you're intimidated. This is the first time you're using a drill, and it's just gonna do it for you. You better bet I'm gonna pay $10, $15 more for that, because it's getting me the end result. And so my question to you is this: when you are marketing your business and your expert services, are you marketing yourself like the drill, or are you marketing yourself as the end result? Are you marketing to Nina as the, or are you just the person that's selling a service? That's the difference. Do you see the difference there? What you're after is marketing your business as the end result. People don't care. They're not going to choose you based on whether or not you're hardworking and trustworthy and reliable and sell a house a minute. Those are all attributes. They're important, but what's going to cut through the noise is your ability to be able to now say, I give you this. Whatever that end result is, whether it's safety, whether it's predictability, whether it's affordability, it doesn't matter. I'm speaking to the end result. That's how you differentiate yourself. Any questions?
Oh, that was clear, actually.
Yeah.
Good? So now you're going to think of the drill and the top. Those are the two visualizations I've given you today.
All I can think about right now.
I
is
know.
the drill.
The drill. I just want the hole in the wall. Okay, so we've talked that now. So that is lifestyle marketing for your business. Those are those steps that you're going to go through to start shifting that mindset a little bit into how you can start marketing as a lifestyle, in a lifestyle manner. You can also do this with your listings. How? Homes or products, we've already established that. Whenever we're selling a product, what is our tendency on MLS? Pick up any MLS and what's it going to talk about?
Spacious.
4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a finished backyard, finished basement, a walkout, whatever. It's all attributes, right? Important, yeah. Clients are going to want to know that, but does that have to be front and center? I mean, at the end of the day, they know what they're looking for, so they're going to do that digging. What we want is to be the listing that stands out as they're coming across all the noise, on MLS or Realtor.ca.
I will often address things like, lends itself for entertaining, family, home, depending on what it is that I'm selling.
Yep.
I always try to throw in that stuff. I do know that people kind of like to get to give me the short end of it.
Yep.
I've seen some MLS listings where the descriptions are so over the top that it's kind of comical, but you have to have a professional nature to it.
Yep.
So it can be to the extreme. But I also agree. I think it's nice to have a little bit of, lifestyle stuff in there. So I definitely try.
Yeah.
Their limited ability.
It has to be lifestyle based, guys. And just look at every brand out there in the market, not real estate related. Every brand is selling on lifestyle. Nike and Adidas. Who does better in the market?
Nike,
Nike. What's the promise when you buy a Nike shoe?
that you'll jump like Michael Jordan.
You're gonna
Then you're
be,
gonna do it.
you are gonna be it. Like whatever it is that
Just
your
do it.
health goals are, you put on these shoes and it's gonna magically happen. It's lifestyle. Yeah. So they are speaking to lifestyle. Everything is appealing to us in lifestyle. The only industry that I've seen thus far that is not tapping into that is us.
We should be.
I get we're laggers. We are not the people that, drive trends, and we are usually the last to adopt things. But there's a market right now for a lifestyle brand and lifestyle marketing, and we're not tapping into it.
So you mean like the videos you've seen where they do the lifestyle videos?
So I'm gonna show you that.
Walking into a house,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing.
That kind of thing. Yep.
I like
So
it.
I was gonna say, so it's like those gated communities, like the townhomes are like gated communities
Yeah.
in King City or in
Yes.
the Tree area.
Yeah.
That's lifestyle.
That's a lifestyle.
And there was someone on the radio a couple of weeks ago, which I found really interesting.
Yep.
Okay, he was saying, and he was from I think the Bank of Montreal or something. He was saying that baby boomers are going towards, they're not quite ready yet for condos.
Yep.
But they do want to size down.
Yep.
They want to lock the door still and go
And go
away.
away.
Townhomes with condo fees are going to be what they're going to be after
Yep.
because they don't want to cut the grass. They don't. So that's another lifestyle. So if you're going to market condo townhomes,
Yep.
you market as a lifestyle towards
Yes.
the baby boomers.
Still, you're not changing the product. You're just changing how you position it.
Right.
Would Nina be an ideal candidate for a community, for a townhouse
Yes.
community or a detached community that has all the services and amenities?
Yes.
Better believe. But guess what? In the absence of you painting that dream, that vision for her, all she's going to be looking at on MLS is 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, Nothing's going to jump out at her. Nothing's going to resonate with what her need is. And her need is, I just need that. That's what her end result is after. Okay. So it's okay to sell the attributes, but if you really want to stand out, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about once you actually get to communicate with them. We're talking about how do you get your listing to stand out now, right? And how you do that is by positioning it as, how does this appeal to the end result that they're after? Because that gated community can appeal to more than one segment of the market. It can appeal to the Zoomer lifestyle that wants to pick up and go to Florida in the winter, maybe go out on golf trips, and maybe, it can be that. It can also be people who are, 45 to 55, who've got kids, who have a recreational property that would love just to be able to lock the door, pick up and go and know that they're safe, that everything's going to be looked after. So it can appeal to more than one, segment of the market. And when you're doing your listing advertising, I'm also not suggesting that you pick just one. You can have 4 ad sets and they all say something different. The key being, though, you've identified who would be the ideal person for that product, and let me speak specifically to them. So I'm not just throwing out a generic message, which is what we do, right? We have got a feature sheet, we posted it out there. Look how pretty it is. Come on, you want that? Like, it's pretty. It's not going to get her attention. So we're going to go through 3 examples of product type, a type of home, and we're going to go through what are some of the things the process that we could go to or go through in order to involve lifestyle marketing. And so we know already people don't buy 4 walls, they buy the vision that's after. Okay. So here's your listing. It's a beautiful listing, isn't it? Maybe it's not even your listing. Maybe you've been given permission to advertise this listing. Okay, but here's the property. It's a country home. It could be located in Stouffville or King City for that matter. So it's not like you're up rural, in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you're still relatively close. Who might be an ideal buyer for this property?
family for sure.
A family? How old? What kind of family?
With children, younger children.
Younger children?
Someone like me, I would,
Okay.
personally.
Yeah.
That's.
Yep. So somebody, between 30, 45 has younger children, might want a home like this. Yeah. Who else?
A gardener.
A gardener. Yeah.
Professional.
Yeah,
A professional.
someone who works and wants to come home on the weekends and just have space and doesn't want to have neighbors next to them. Someone who maybe grew up in the country,
Could be.
works in the city, wants to come back.
Okay, so let's go with that. A working professional. How old? 45, 55, in and around there. So they're still working. Married?
Yes.
Yes.
Are both spouses working?
Yes.
Probably. Have children?
Yes.
How old?
Old.
Teens?
12, 18.
Teens, maybe they're almost finishing high school, maybe getting into university, right? Okay. And so they're busy, they're working professionals, so they probably are traveling into the city to go to work. And you kind of said this, they come home and they want space. They want to know that their shoulders drop 2 inches when they pull into their neighborhood, right? They've just come out of the hustle bustle. They're okay with all of that. When they come home, they want space. So you have this beautiful country home. How are you going to market this home to that particular buyer?
Expansive land on a secluded
Cul-de-sac.
So you're going to talk about the land. When you're doing photography, you're probably going to do an aerial shot.
close to amenities and highway.
So you're going to highlight the amenities because they are still important, but these people are not afraid to drive 10 minutes to the grocery
Or to
store.
get to the highway.
Or to get to the highway. Yep, so you're going to talk about the transportation portals that are around them. Yep.
And you can say at the end of the day, this is your retreat.
It's a retreat. So if this is my retreat, what do you want to highlight for me?
My lifestyle,
More than that,
Yourself.
the views,
the views.
the vistas, the greenery, right? This is what I'm after. I want a retreat. So how do you show me and describe to me that this is going to be a retreat without talking about how many bedrooms? Because I'm going to find that information. It's on the listing. But how do you automatically position this that I might want to come and look at it? You're talking about the end result. The end result is they want space, they want a retreat. They're busy, they're working, they're okay to drive 15 minutes to amenities. They do need to be close to highways though. They need to know that there's things around, but you come home and there's horses, off in the distance. There's a beautiful sunset. There's a nice place to sit down and have tea or coffee in the morning as you're reading your Globe and Mail, because they probably read the Globe and Mail, right? These are people working professionals. They're probably looking at factual information. So knowing all of this, if I was to advertise this listing, where would I advertise this listing? We've identified that the person is around 50 years old.
Toronto Life magazine.
Toronto Life magazine.
Can you advertise
Globe and
on
Mail.
Facebook?
Hmm?
Can you advertise on Huffington on Facebook?
I don't know, but I would look into that. I might also listen in some of those groups and see if somebody comments or makes comments about what I love. Like, you'd be surprised what people share on social media when you listen. They're telling you everything. And so chances are you could find somebody who's talking about, I want to retreat, I want to go, I just want some place in the country. And those are the types of groups that you want to do the listening on. You'll probably find more interactive groups on Facebook than you will on Instagram. But knowing where they hang out, knowing where they find their information, knowing how they like to be best communicated with is going to drive how and where you market this listing. Make sense? Okay. City home. Who would be the ideal buyer for this home? A millennial,
A young couple.
a young
A
couple,
working couple, obviously.
young working couple,
Single male.
single, okay? How old?
35.
I would say max 40.
Late 20s.
I'd say 35.
Okay, so mid-30s. This is in the city core, right?
But I like the city too.
How much do you think a house like this would go for?
Is that a house or a
Or
condo?
an apartment, it could be an apartment.
Level
A loft.
No, 1.3.
Okay, the reason why I asked that is this, you see, we all look at that and we're like, oh, that would be perfect for a millennial or somebody young. Yeah, well, let's get practical. What's their budget?
Probably 1.5.
300.
Cube.
It's not gonna be this. They're not really gonna be able to afford this if they're a single person. They might rent it, but this is for sale. Okay, so I might start looking at, okay, so who would be an ideal, this might be a perfect place for somebody who is renting or who's currently, got something really small and maybe is gonna have a growing family, definitely has to have 2 working people.
Can I just say one thing
Yeah.
about that? My experience has been that many millennials have their parents helping financially.
Yep.
And parents, I'm noticing, just even with my own open houses, will actually prefer that they spend a little more to get something right for their kids and
Yep.
are investing a little bit more. So I don't think that's out of reach.
It's not out of reach, but then if it's coming from Bank of Mom and Dad, who else are you advertising to?
Mom and dad.
Mom and
I
Dad.
was gonna say, the other house, I was gonna say that it would be a good idea also to put it in the Zoomer magazine. because
Absolutely.
Those baby boomers are in the 70s, they have kids who are in their 40s and 50s, that house might be.
Okay, good. Remember I said there's gonna be more than one buyer? So
Yeah.
one ad set could be what we talked about. Another ad set could be dealing with somebody who is older, who is actually retired, but who maybe was an investment banker, who's got a lot of money to be able to afford a lifestyle like this now in their retirement years. And they do have older children who are probably married, which means they probably have grandkids too, which means would they be on Facebook? Yep, because that's the only way they're gonna find out what's going on with their grandkid Johnny, who's, in sports or whatever. So you can see how it's just about identifying who that ideal client is and then figuring out where they hang out, how can I reach them, what's important to them, what messages should I share so that it's specific to them. This one here, let's just go with, forget who's, funding it, not funding it. Would it be fair to say that the person who buys this is interested in convenience and amenities, like it's in the center core, don't want to drive everywhere, might not even have a car?
It's
So
probably a real estate agent.
could be a real estate agent, yeah, just wants to know they come home, nice space, beautiful light, right?
Probably
But
doesn't have a car, likes transportation.
Yeah.
or walk.
I walk out of my door and I know I can walk 10 steps this way to the cute little organic coffee shop, which is going to give me a great experience where I'm going to meet my kids and maybe other moms who have kids, right? I could go down this way and there's going to be this beautiful restaurant that actually offers healthy takeout food that I can pick up and go on the run, and I can walk my kids to school because it's actually 2 blocks away. And my little pup, there's a little, off-lead dog park that's just around the corner. And so I'm now catering this to the convenience lifestyle. And I am talking about that, which means when I'm doing marketing or a virtual tour, I'm not going to spend all my time going through this house. Here's the corner, here's this. I'm going to start showcasing the coffee shop down the street and photos of the off-lead dog park and maybe the bike trails and maybe talk about the school that's in this particular zone and rated X, whatever it is by whoever rates these things. Right? So I'm going to be talking to and appealing to what matters to this person. But equally so, this could be somebody who doesn't have kids and who's a divorcee, what would matter to them? Probably not something too dissimilar to what we talked about, but they're not going to care so much about the schools, and maybe I won't focus on that. Maybe I'll focus on the entertainment side of things, right?
What about like neighborhood demographics? If you know a house is in, say, C15, I have one coming up, and I know it's a big Chinese Persian area.
Yeah.
Do you also start targeting like to them?
Well, that's a
Like,
lifestyle,
yeah.
right? So that exactly, if you know that those are the people that are most interested, I might do an ad set just specifically for that. Which means, am I going to post it in English?
No.
No.
Or you post it in their magazine.
Yeah. Okay, last one.
Ah.
Luxury living. Luxury living. Who would be the ideal buyer for this? Is it going to be the 45-year-old with 2 kids?
No.
Colombian drug.
Why not be Colombian?
Would it be fair to say that this person who would be interested in this is looking at a resort lifestyle? Like, I want to come home, and if I want to retreat to my sauna, I'm going to retreat to my sauna. If I don't want to go for a night swim, I'm going to go for a night swim, and I'm probably going to entertain, right? I'm probably going to have a lot of, dinner parties and get-togethers, whether it's for business, whether it's social, whether it's family, but I'm going to entertain. I'm going to really play up on the resort lifestyle feel of this. Would it be fair to say that I have dispensable income if I'm looking at something like this? Yeah. So budget's not going to be something that's going to be super important to me at this point, but I'm going to play up on location, amenities, what this home can afford them. Would it be fair to say that these people, this is not going to be their only property that they own? Yeah. So I might then, looking at that, say, oh, interesting. So they probably have a condo out in Belize. They probably have this beautiful, you know, if they're looking at a beautiful property here, because again, we're talking about the buyer. If they're looking at this, I might really then want to play up on why it is a good investment to add to their portfolio of real estate properties that they have around the world, and how much these homes have appreciated over the last 10 years, and what the future vision and planning is. And they want to make sure that they're not buying a resort style home and there's going to be a subdivision put up around them. So do you see how when you start digging a little bit deeper, it opens up new doors and new ways of information that's going to help empower you to now speak specifically to these people? Good. Questions?
I do actually. So the way we generally do things, and maybe I wrap my brain around it. We have our feature sheets, we have our MLS. You know, we do our feature sheets, we drop them off at the house, we have pictures, we might say little blurbs, we have a list of, you know, extra features. How do we incorporate targeting anybody? Because we really have no control over who is really coming to see those listings.
Mm-hmm.
And we rely on the cooperating agents to educate and sell the product.
Yeah.
How do we incorporate this into our listings or our feature sheets? Because you really have to address a broad spectrum of people. We don't know.
So there's a number of ways. Great question. You brought up one was, wouldn't it be amazing if we already went through this question of the ideal buyer before we got into the listing presentation? So if I've already identified this, I go into that listing presentation, I speak specifically about who that ideal buyer might be and how I'm going to reach them and the messaging I'm going to share. Does that differentiate you at the table? I better believe it does, because I can guarantee you the other realtors are not saying that and they're not positioning it like that. So that's one way. The second piece is even if it was just in your virtual tour, how you conduct your virtual tour. It doesn't have to be a click here to move to the next house. Maybe it's a walkthrough video. Maybe it's a voiceover. Maybe it's talking about, you know, there's maybe it's you or someone else's voice, but it's talking about, wouldn't you love to take a night swim, and right? So it's painting the picture for them. It's not going to mean that you're going to do things drastically different than what you're already doing them, but there's subtle tweaks in how you're going to be doing it that are going to make the difference. Those of you who are on social media, and I know Danielle does this amazing. She's actually perfect at this, but sorry, not Danielle, Desiree. I'm pointing, yeah, that's what I was pointing at. You're on social media. You are, which we all do, we go and post a photo of the house and say, this is for sale, 4 bedrooms, act now, whatever it is that we're saying. Imagine now you take that and you've identified that this home is perfect for a first-time home buyer. And you now post a great photo of it, but instead of speaking to, generic lifestyle, imagine this home was only 600,000. Let's just kind of bring that down now, okay? So it's 600,000, which means it's within a budget for a first-time home buyer. Very affordable, in the center core. Might not be in the most desirable neighborhood, but it's a step into home ownership, and you think it would be perfect for somebody like that. If I was speaking to a first-time home buyer, chances are I'm probably going to go with they're probably renting right now. Maybe they're tired of having, multi-level renting and there's a noisy guy below and kids running up on top, or maybe they're still living with their in-laws. And so now all of a sudden I post a beautiful photo and I say, hey, aren't you tired of living in your parents' basement? I mean, you got married 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when you got married, you really just wanted to start your adult life. And what's holding you back is the fact that you haven't found your home yet. And it's not that you haven't found it, you can't afford it. And you know why you can't afford it? Because you don't have a plan in place. I'm here to tell you that as a first-time home buyer, it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to need a plan of action, and I'm the type of person that's going to give it to you. These are the things that I provide to my clients. So yes, this home is probably perfectly, fits into your budget. Maybe you can't afford it now. But if you work with me and we create a plan together, what if I told you a year from now you could afford this? Would it matter then? And so now all of a sudden I'm speaking to the person that is now sitting in their parents' basement renting, feeling touched, like, oh, that was for me. She's speaking to me. That's what you want. You want your social posts, you want your ads, you want your print media to feel as though you are speaking to them. Do you see the difference in how that lands? Same photo, different message. It's specific. And so that's where we want to go, especially with social media. It's great that we're present on social media. It's important to be there. If you're not doing something online now, I really, really encourage you to start getting active, because 5 to 10 years from now, it's where the business is going to be. Everything is moving online. If you're talking about advertising, there's metrics involved. You can measure the results, so it's predictable. You know how much you're investing. You know how much reach that's going to get. So it's measurable. It's predictable. You can't do that with print necessarily. Doesn't mean, though, back to my opening, where everything will work if you just know who you're speaking to. Those online ads might not matter if I'm talking to a retiree. What matters might be the local paper, because they still pick it up and read it, right? So it's about knowing who, again, coming back to who is that ideal client, what are their needs, and can you speak specifically to that need? Because you're still posting the photo of the house, but now all of a sudden my messaging might be a little bit different. I might be wanting to use that house to attract people who do want the dream of home ownership, who can't afford to get it yet, and I want them now. Not when they're ready. I want them now, because now I have value to bring to the table. Now, when I post something, they're going to want to receive that information. Now they're going to reach out to me on my email marketing campaign if that's what I'm doing, or download my 10 steps to buying a home, or whatever that might be. Do you see how I'm creating that nice sort of tunnel, that path that they follow? That's what you want. That's what you're after. Questions? Yeah.
Could you give a similar example to someone who is first home buyer and they want to invest their money?
Can you? Yeah, of course you can.
How is gonna be like
A first-time home buyer seminar?
they want to mostly decide first time they're gonna invest their money. Like, let's say it's a condo and they cannot afford to buy a house, but they want to buy this property that grows, that they can at the same
And they're going to live in it or rent it out?
living.
Okay, so that's where Nikki comes up. Sorry, Nikki. Oh my goodness, I'm dating myself.
The example?
No. Netta.
Netta.
Jesus. I need a copy. Netta comes up and talks about pre-construction projects. That is the ideal product type for somebody who is looking to buy and invest, because they're getting it before it's even built, which means they're getting it at market value now, not what it's going to be when it's finally built. They're staging in their payments, which means they don't have to come up with the full down payment all at once. So when you see those things, you can run a whole seminar around just a product type or a new project coming up. That's why Vivian pushes you guys to read the newsletters on projects coming up. It doesn't mean that you have to have a buyer for it now, but can you use that as a little dangling carrot to say, hey, ever thought about buying something? This is a perfect opportunity. Even if you're not ready now, why don't you come out and listen and hear, and I can help with you and match you with somebody, whatever it is, whatever those services are that you're bringing to the table.
I'm actually sending them to parents who have their kids at home still in their 20s or 30s.
Here, get them out.
Well, no, but if
They
they
buy
start,
condos
if they
for it.
buy a pre-construction condo in 3-4 years, whatever, they can get out of the house.
Yeah. And I gotta
have the
tell
parents
you,
put the down payment. That's what I'm saying.
but I gotta tell you, that is a big segment of the market. That is such a good specific need to be after, because there are people that are like, you're 35 years old, can you get out of my house already? I'll help you. Here, let me help you. But their motivation, their need is, we just want our space. Like, guys, can you fly the coop already? Like, you're 35 years old, you are working, I get you can't afford it, we'll help you, but move out. Move out, we want to live our life now. And there are people like that. And so if that is a segment of your ideal client that you would be after, think about the amount of information that you could share in drips and drabs of how that speaks specifically to that need. Like, you're tired of having your kids living at home, they can't afford it. Are you looking to help your kids buy something? Because there's that too, right? There is a genuine desire and understanding from this generation of like, I get, my kids are not going to be able to afford it without me. So maybe you speak specifically to that need. Like, you want to help your kids buy something because you don't want them living with you forever, but you're just not sure how to go about doing that. And you're certainly not sure what the affordability factor is going to be. Can they carry it afterwards? Like, these are the things that you're speaking to that matter to them. Now, all of a sudden, again, if I'm that person, I'm going to be like, oh, that's me. I might want to listen to Lena. I might tune into the next time she posts something on social. I might subscribe to her newsletter. I might actually reach out to her and book an appointment.
No different than when you see all those ads, rent to own, and everyone runs and calls, because they're like, I can rent, so I can own.
I'm already renting. You mean I can
Right.
just, my rent can go towards home
And
ownership?
then
It can
there's a
get me
lot of,
there?
You know, around it, but.
Now, which one do I press if I actually want to select, because there's a link behind this? Maybe not. I don't want to do it because it's probably going to boot it out. So this here is a tool that's available on the Royal LePage website already. They were kind of onto something. They just haven't really figured out what they were onto yet. But My Perfect Life, Your Perfect Life, is a way to, if you just click it, it should open. There we go. So this is a tool that allows me as a client, if I was a client, to go and put in what my income level is, what the age of my children, and my family status, am I single, am I married, my average age, and what job type I have. And when I click that, it takes that information and it suits me, it matches me with categories that they've come up with using Statistics Canada information. And so it says, based on this, whatever was put in, you fit best with Asian elegance. Hip, beautiful people, educated, employed, and fluent in a second language. These people will be your neighbors. So this is your perfect life. So if you scroll up, Celeste, sorry, scroll down to get, no, I actually have to do it. Okay, I'm not gonna do it, but if I was to put this in and then I hit find my perfect life, it's gonna bring up a map and then it's gonna have little circles in different pockets and neighborhoods. And it's going to say, okay, so if this is the demographic and this is who you are and this is what you're after, these are the neighborhoods that you might want to consider looking in. And then as you move the map, I can go from Durham region to York region to Toronto, and it's always going to pull up these little circles in the neighborhoods that best fit this. There we go. Sure. Yeah, you did. Okay, so go to the map. There we go. So you see how it's got little. So it's so it's telling me that around Laurel Leaf area, around John and Green Lane, there's little pockets of neighborhoods that might that are have people that are very similar to me, that in that demographic that I am a part of. And if I just dragged that map around, it would keep popping up little neighborhoods that match that. Now, we don't want to be sending people to a third-party site if you do not have a contract with them, because it's a very fun tool. I might actually start exploring some of those listings, which means I could end up on someone else's listing, which means I might call them instead of you if I don't really know you yet. So it's not a place that I would send people to unless I had them signed up under buyer contract, and then I'm feeling a little bit more confident that they're going to call me. But I might also use this for me as a realtor.
As a guide, right?
I might start saying, okay, I know that I want to market this particular area, geographic area. Let me kind of just play with this and see what are the different neighborhoods in terms of demographics. It's very pictorial, so you don't have to go through all statistic information to find out, oh yeah, they're this cultural base and they speak these languages, and that, because that's the demographic information that you can pull from GeoWarehouse. This gives it to you in more of a pictorial. So kind of makes it easier. You just need a high level. You're not looking for deep specific stuff. You're just looking for general ideas. So that's one. Yeah.
I have a question. I have a customer. She is very interested to living in Mississauga or some places near the Indian people. She's interested in the Indian neighborhood.
Okay.
Can I use it?
Yes. Yep. So you would go through there and see what pops up. Put in her age. Put in whatever it was that she had. Oh, you have them out
Yeah,
there.
so that's why I wanted to,
Beautiful.
Is it possible to realize, for example, she doesn't like Punjabi people or the other people? Is it specific or not?
No, then you'll have to identify the
Like
neighborhood.
Indian, for example.
You can. You have to identify the neighborhood and then go to GeoWarehouse and pull a full demographic report. And then it'll show you, 20% of the population in this neighborhood speak this language or this language or this religious denomination. Like it'll go more specific than that.
It's not about the race, it's about the financial.
Right, but when you go on to the demographics on GeoWarehouse, it does share religion, it does share whether they've graduated from university, whether they speak 3 languages, 2 languages, if they have kids, all of that kind of stuff. So you can get more.
Where's the link? Show again.
On royallepage.ca.
Yeah, but which heading is it on?
Probably buy. If you went under the buy, you probably then find your perfect life. The other thing, actually, if you can click buy. The other thing that you might want to look at is schools and travel time. So you can now search by travel time, which means I'm somebody who's Nina, busy right? And I don't want to drive more than 45 minutes in rush hour traffic to get to where I need to go. And so what I would do is, oh, that's the school one. Can you go to travel time? So what I would do is start putting in, I want no more than whatever, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. My mode of transportation is car. I want it to be rush hour traffic. Like I don't want to spend more than 40 minutes in rush hour, but I could also choose regular traffic, right? Which is going to give you a larger distance to travel. I'm looking to buy. I could put in beds and baths if I wanted to. I might not at this point. And then I would put my price range in. And then when it does that, and then you would put in where you work. So if I work in the Toronto core, I want to know then what's 40 minutes from there, right? And so it's going to pull up neighborhoods. Same thing for schools. Young families today are looking for homes that are in good school zone areas. And so Royal LePage now has that school search that if you put in, I want my child to go to St. It's going to give you what that catchment base is. It's going to show you on the map, and then it's going to show you all the listings that fall in that catchment basement. So that might be a place to start then for your home search. So there's already some tools available for you guys to start you on this whole lifestyle marketing piece. And more than that, just understanding who your client is, right? To be able to speak specifically to them. Yeah, if you can go back to that. Okay, if we can just click on the image. This is going to show you a video. Can we enlarge it?
Do you want sound?
It's okay. It's got some nice music in the background, but this is a listing video for this particular house. It happens to be in Montreal, but I want you just to pay attention to this, number one.
This is new, people walking, just starting.
Wow.
Is that my friend's house?
I don't know.
She just listed it.
In Montreal?
Yeah, she just listed it.
Notice the home automation.
Yeah, it's not okay. Oh my God.
Notice the very clean lines and modern feel. Notice the speed. Notice the speed that they're going through this house at. This is not a very slow, looking at every corner up and down.
Yeah, the tub running.
That's very fast.
You notice you get the tub running, the water running in the tub.
Yeah.
Okay, that's definitely not our house.
Okay, so
Stop.
beautiful aerial shot. No, yeah, it'll shot. Yeah, there you go. Close enough. So
Amazing.
that is what is called a lifestyle video. That would not cost you that much more than a traditional virtual tour video. I am happy to say that iGuide, who we deal with for the Works marketing, also produces videos like this.
Yeah.
They will also, if you're looking for actors, get you actors. They will either help you do voiceovers or hire somebody to do a voiceover. They will go as elaborate as you want. They can do a full day production with 2 cameras and actors and voiceover. Like obviously that's going to matter price point, but just know that those options are available at the very least, because I'm always a person that's about practicality and being budget minded. You don't have to do something like this. Obviously that would be very property specific. Like if I had, don't forget that home, if I was to look at that home, my guess would be this. It was very modern looking, very clean line. Somebody with young kids might not have looked at that as something maybe practical, or have seen that their young kids would be walking through with white walls and white everything, right? So,
Yeah.
So the fact that they put kids in the video and they showed the kids having fun and it was just a walkthrough, also notice that they were wearing a school uniform, which then spoke to maybe the types of schools that were around them, like all very subliminal. But I think it was brilliant that they used the kids, because that wouldn't be a typical house that I would look at and say, yeah, kids would belong there. So if I was a family looking to be in that neighborhood, I might not have ever really considered that. Having looked at that though, I might have said, oh, interesting. Look, the kids are enjoying the pool. And look, it is there's kids that live there, right? So we're always looking at how do people live in their home already, and does it match what I'm looking for? But at the very least, here's what I want you to consider. If you are working in a specific geographic area that tends to appeal to maybe families or Zoomers or whatever segment of the market it is, do your regular virtual tours, that's fine, but hire a videographer that's going to give you a stock intro that's going to showcase the lifestyle features of the neighborhood. Maybe there is a beautiful park. Maybe there is beautiful trails that people go rollerblading through or running through. Maybe there is a dog park. Maybe there's a great little restaurant. Maybe there's a theater. Maybe, you know, whatever it is, have the videographer go through and take those shots of people riding their bike, of people, you know, families walking. Appeal to the emotional lifestyle part, because then all you need to do is, once you have that, you can use it for every video. That's your opening, because that's the geographic area that you're working in. Have a videographer just pay them a little bit to edit it, so that that's your opening to the virtual tour that they've already created for you. So it looks like it's one seamless video. Does that make sense? Yeah. So even just in that, investing in some sort of video footage or still photography, professional, nicely done still photography, that is going to appeal to the emotional aspect of the neighborhood, is going to be valuable for you, because you can use it over and over and over again. And different seasons too. Like, you don't want to be always showing a summer thing if we're in the middle, you know, the dead of winter. Show how people are cross-country skiing through, you know, the pathways or whatever, you know, whatever's around. Any questions? Okay, so what I'm going to hand out to you. You can take one, pass it back. This is called The Story of My Ideal Client. Oh, sorry, we'll take one out. Pass that back. There you go. This is The Story of My Ideal Client. Oh, you didn't get one. She just walked right past you, Celeste. This is just a little quick and easy template that you can use to start crafting your character. Whether it's for a particular property that you're advertising for, or whether this is for your actual ideal client for your business, just start using this. And you'll notice, you don't have to do it now, you can take it back with you, but it helps you go through those. What is their name? What is their age? Are they married? What are their interests? Who do they follow? I think there might, like, how would their friends describe them? So it kind of just gets you started on that. Using this in combination with the 10 questions that I'm going to send you is going to help you to start crafting all of that. And they're just tools. Please know this. There is no perfect way of doing this. There is no exact science behind it. It's you just figuring out how you can get to know them better. Because if you know them, you can appreciate and like who they are, and all of a sudden you can figure out how to build that trust and rapport. And that is what is important when we're selling expert services. It's that like, know, and trust, that those 3 R's that we talked about. So the more you know about them, the more you understand who they are, what their needs are, what makes them tick, the more you can speak to that, and then you start building that connection and rapport. Any questions? Did I stun you? Are you good? Overwhelming?
No, good. It was worth
Good?
the trip from Vaughan.
I'm glad it was worth the trip from Vaughan. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Good.
I try to, when I do video, I try to pick out some highlights or features of the house, and I focus on that in my scripts. And now this is giving me a little different perspective. So I have a new listing coming, so I'm going to try to really use the tools and see how it goes.
No, just know this. This is not going to mean you're going to do your business any differently than the way you're already doing it. It's just going to help to give you a little bit more clarity behind the actions that you take in your business. And if it can just change the way you look at it even a bit, then I've done my job. Because it's just about, if you always think of things the same way, then you're always going to do things the same way, and your results are going to be exactly the same. And so we want something new. And the goal driving behind that is, how do you differentiate yourself? Because that's the problem that we're all facing. If you take all the challenges, it all comes down to, they look at us the same. And how do we make sure that they see our value? And what is our value? Because some of us don't even know that. Some of us don't even know exactly what our value is. And so if you don't know, and you're trying to market that your services to somebody, they're going to pick up on you not knowing, because you're not clear about it. And so going through these exercises is just a way to get that started. Okay?
We all listen.
Thank
right?
you.
We don't understand.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. It's nice to see you guys.
Can we get a copy of the slide?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you guys a copy of those 10 questions and this, and I might even give you a link of some sample videos just to get some creative juices going.
The problem is, just have thinking more out of the things I want to do, because I could just see myself doing a video being like, do you have a problem?
Before you go, thank you for bringing that up. I'm gonna say one thing. So you talked about humor, and I wish I had the link to show you. There was a realtor, sorry, I know you were just on your way up. There was a realtor that did a lifestyle video. And honestly, it was so funny, but it was so raw, and there was just nothing, glamorous about it. But it matched who he was, and it matched the property. And so imagine this: the property was a semi-detached. It was very small. He opens up with him sitting on the front porch, which was very tiny, on this little chair, and you can see he's like crunched in like this, and he's drinking his tea, and he's like, this is the perfect place to start your day. Oh, look, there's your neighbor Jan. And now Jan is peeking through the bushes like this, and she's like, oh, and she closes it. So he's already speaking to tight quarters, get it, your neighbors are gonna know everything you're doing, understand all of that. Walk through the home with me. And so he walks through the home, and the home couldn't have been more than half the size of this room, no joke. And what stood in the middle was this pillar, so all the rooms were around this pillar. And he's standing there and he says, you know what I love about this home? It's got great circulation. Watch. And he runs. Swear to God. And he runs around it, and then he stops, and but he fast forwards it, right? So he's like running around it, and he stops, and he's like, ah. And then all of a sudden he hears a knock at the door. And there's this little door that's off to the side. And so he goes and he opens the door, and who's standing there is this really goofy guy, like dressed like a bit of a slob. And he's like, hey, dude. And he's like, oh, this is George. He pays your rent. Oh, sorry, he pays your mortgage. He pays your mortgage. And George is just standing there, and he's like, yeah, I pay on time most of the time. Yep. And he's just all like ditzy, whatever. But all of a sudden he's talked to the fact that, oh, there's a rental opportunity here. So they go down to the basement. And George is there, all, disheveled. And he's got his washing mitts on, and he's washing these pots, and there's a big mess everywhere and soap suds. And the guy is like, so this is the basement apartment. And it comes with a great dishwasher, and he opens up the dishwasher. And now George, who's not so bright, is going, oh, and he throws the gloves up and he walks away because he's sitting here going, I'm washing dishes, there's a dishwasher, what's going on? George loves lights. And so now he's tangled up in all of these Christmas lights. And he's got Christmas lights hanging everywhere. And outside it's green and sunny and beautiful. And he says, George has got this fascination with lights. Like all year round, he lights up the place. But it doesn't matter. You know why? Because there's a separate electrical panel. So it's like complete separation. You don't have to worry about what this guy is doing. I have to find it. And then they're outside in the backyard, and now they're showcasing the backyard, and there's so many things you can do. You can have get together, and now he's there with this like electric guitar and this amplifier. Anyways, the whole point being, it doesn't have to be glamorous, luxurious, serious. This matched perfectly to the salesperson's personality. So if you have a sense of humor and that's what you show people, then do it. If that's who you are, what you don't want is to try and be something that you're not. If you're a very humorous guy or girl and you're sarcastic and you're not really like put together and making sure then let that be reflective. You have to be authentic, because people know when you're being inauthentic. And the last thing you want is to create an image on social and then have somebody meet you and it's complete opposite. So the more authentic you can be and bringing your character and personality into it, the better it's going to be for your marketing, because people resonate with people that they like, know, and trust. And if there's a relatability there, you're already like 60% of the way. So it doesn't have to be serious. So I wanted to share that with you. If I can find that video link, I will send it to you, because it was really funny.
Gonna go and Google it now.
It was really funny. It was really funny. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. So yeah, humor, do it.
I mean, I'm thinking more the humor would not be necessarily on property unless there was a lot for it. Yeah. But more like if I was using generic videos of just things that I find humorous, like a video and seeing like, the whole idea of, I know so many people whose kids are married and living with them, and so many people that I've met, their kids just married, living with them, saving money so that they would go buy. So just having a video relating to the fact that he thought when he married her off,
yeah, she was gone for
someone else's problem.
Yeah.
And then or him, and you show them on still doing his laundry, but still putting food on the table.
As long as you're getting your message out there and it's resonating.
So funny.
don't even know who will do that for you. There are also other videography companies that will do that. Hi, nice to see you. I would start with Lula only because we are volume with them that
Like, do you use them? I know, but I think you're kind of,
Yeah.
oh, but you're saying that's more functional.
It doesn't have to be drone if you're doing neighborhood. Bye, thank you.
It would have to, you really have to show the parks and the trails and the types of parks that are active.
Yeah.
Like you want to, but I mean,
You know, if it's something that you can repurpose and reuse,
yeah,
it's an investment.
you know, it's like seasons change, like the neighborhood does.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And then show now, summer, fall, this neighborhood mall. And I know that like people try to get separate lots and it's not getting like loud.
Where is this?
It's upper, it's really fun. It's people down.
Okay.
I love that.
Hey, Celeste, push up.
Yes. I love that would be great.
So she's teaching.
You know, like you.